This is the story of missing child Morgan Nick, June 9, 1995, at the age of 6. Missing child Morgan Nick. Morgan's photo is shown age progressed to 31 years. She was abducted by an unknown white male while she was playing at a ballpark in Alma. The composite sketch portrays someone who may have come in contact with Morgan at the ballpark. His height and weight are approximations, and he is believed to have been between the ages of 23 and 38 at the time of the abduction. Morgan has 5 visible silver caps on her molars. She was last seen wearing a green Girl Scout shirt, blue denim shorts and white tennis shoes. Missing since June 9, 1995. Missing from Alma Ar Dobbs, September 12, 1988. Age now 34. Sex female. Race white. Hair color blonde. Eye color blue. Height 4 feet 0 inches. Weight 55 pounds. Sex male. Race white. Hair color unknown. Eye color unknown. Height 6 feet 0 inches. Weight 180 pounds. 1-800-843-5678 Alma Police Department, Arkansas, 1-479-632-3333 or Arkansas State Police, 1-479-783-5195 or your local FBI. Still missing, Morgan Nick abduction closer to being solved. Morgan Nick's family. June 9, 1995, was a typical Friday for Colleen Nick and her family in Ozark, Arkansas. Colleen ran a licensed in-home daycare, and the kids were picked up by their parents around 5 p.m. Colleen made grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner, and then it was bath time for her children, 6-year-old Morgan, 4-year-old Logan, and 22-month-old Taryn. Friends invited Colleen to watch their kids' Little League baseball game in Alma, which was about a 30-minute drive from Ozark. Colleen dropped off her 2 youngest children at their grandmother's house. She and Morgan headed to the Alma ballpark. The ballpark, Wofford Field, was near downtown Alma, about a block or so from the Alma Police Department. An interior chain-link fence surrounded the game field and an outer chain-link fence encircled the bleachers overlooking the first and third base lines. There weren't any concession stands or bathrooms. 2 small dirt lots close to the ballpark served as parking areas. Colleen pulled her silver Nissan Stanza wagon into the lot on a little hill above Wofford Field. At about 9 p.m., Colleen and her daughter joined their family friends in the bleachers near the first base line to watch the game. Chasing fireflies. Local kids had been running around the parking lots and the game field all evening. Ty, 10, and Jessica, 8, had asked Morgan several times to go play, but Morgan was somewhat shy and quiet, and wanted to stay with her mother. Morgan kept untying her mother's shoes as a joke. Colleen played along by acting surprised when she noticed the laces were undone. Toward the end of the baseball game, Ty and Jessica returned to ask Morgan to chase fireflies with them. This time, Morgan wanted to go, but Colleen said no, telling her daughter it was too dark and too late. But then Colleen thought about how she'd been told by friends and family that she was too overprotective. Children needed space and independence, right? Her friends reassured her that the area was safe. After all, kids had been playing around this field forever, and nothing bad had ever happened. The baseball game was nearly over and the parking areas were visible from the bleachers. Morgan really wanted to go chase those fireflies, said Colleen Nick in the Hulu documentary Still Missing Morgan. So Colleen changed her mind and told Morgan she could go. Colleen added, "She was so happy. She flung her arms around my neck and kissed me on the cheek." It was the last time Colleen would see her 6-year-old daughter. Morgan goes missing. Morgan Nick was a white, 6-year-old girl with long blonde hair and blue eyes. She was approximately 4 feet tall and weighed 55 pounds. On June 9, 1995, she wore a greenish-blue Girl Scout t-shirt, blue denim shorts, and white tennis shoes. Colleen later said that she could see the kids running around the field and parking lots and visually checked on them 3 or 4 times. When the baseball game ended, Colleen was momentarily distracted by the players exiting the field. The kids who had invited Morgan to chase fireflies returned, but Morgan wasn't with them. Ty and Jessica said they'd played in a sand pile near the parking area on the hill while Morgan sat down next to Colleen's car to empty the sand out of her tennis shoes. Ty said he waited for Morgan and, as she finished tying her shoelaces, he headed down to the ballpark. Why hadn't she followed Ty back to the bleachers? It had only been 2 or 3 minutes since the 10-year-old boy saw Morgan. Colleen thought that her daughter might be waiting by the car, but dread filled her as she hurried to the parking lot. Something wasn't right. When Colleen reached her Nissan, she searched around the vehicle and inside of it. Morgan wasn't there. One of the coaches noticed her distress, and when he learned her 6-year-old daughter was missing, he called 911. Colleen and the other parents immediately started searching for Morgan. When the police arrived, they organized a grid search, struggling through mud and muck. Flashlights pierced the darkness as searchers called out for Morgan. At this point, the police thought the little girl was just lost in an unfamiliar area. But they were wrong. The Scruffy Stranger. In Hulu's true crime documentary, Still Missing Morgan, former Alma Police Chief Russell White said that Ty and Jessica remembered a white male with a scruffy beard had been watching them. He wore shorts and was either shirtless or had his shirt open. White said, he had some hair on his chest and stomach, but not a lot of it, maybe kind of a strip. Ty and Jessica said the man was sitting in a red truck with the door open, smoking a cigarette. They also said the truck had a white camper shell that didn't fit right. In the Still Missing Morgan documentary, White said, I think it happened very quickly. On his way out of the parking lot, I think he stepped out of the truck, grabbed her, put her in the truck and took off. The day after Morgan's disappearance, Ty and Jessica helped police put together a composite sketch of the man using an identikit. Morgan's father. Colleen and John Nick amicably divorced in 1994. The night their oldest daughter disappeared, Colleen called her ex-husband to tell him Morgan was missing. Colleen Nick became the most visible advocate for Morgan in the days and months after her daughter's abduction. Former police chief White maintained that Morgan's father, John Nick, did everything that was ever asked of him. He was cooperative at all times, but he didn't do media interviews. John said it was because he was told by a reporter that no one wants to hear from the father. You know what, said John in the Still Missing Morgan documentary. I said I don't want to talk to you assholes, either. And I'm not going to. And 24 years later, I still haven't spoken to the media. His decision to stay out of the spotlight had unintended consequences. People began accusing him of harming his own daughter. In the documentary, he said, it's really painful for someone to point their finger and say that's who hurt that little girl. That's who took that little girl. Colleen Nick poses with a poster of her missing daughter, Morgan Nick. The picture is an age-progressed portrayal of what Morgan Nick might look like now. A new investigative direction. In 2020, Alma Police Chief Russell White retired, handing over the reins of the Alma Police Department to his good friend and a 20-year veteran, Jeff Pointer. Pointer now had the title of police chief and with it, the city's most infamous cold case, the abduction of 6-year-old Morgan Nick. Detective Brett Hartley became the Alma Police Department's lead investigator in 2019. In the Still Missing Morgan documentary, he said, in 25 years of law enforcement here, Morgan is the only one we haven't found. Hartley added, I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for facts. I'm looking for details. I'm looking for specifics that I can focus on aside from composites. As Hartley dug through Morgan's missing person case file, he came across the photo of the red truck. The red truck. 4 days after Morgan went missing, police revealed a home video that showed a red truck parked at Wofford Field. The officer reviewing the video for the media commented that the truck didn't look like a Ford, the type of vehicle reported by witnesses. He also said the supposed camper might actually be a storm door. In the days after Morgan went missing, a television news report stated that the truck in the video was probably a Mazda and was owned by a parent who attended the ball game. The problem? The details about the truck weren't true. I have not found a single document at this point that tells me that truck's cleared or that the owner of that truck has been identified, said Detective Hartley in the Still Missing Morgan documentary. He explained that the night Morgan disappeared, police took the information of everyone who had been at the ballfield, including the type of vehicles they drove. People were also asked about any guests they invited to see the game and got descriptions of those vehicles, too. According to Hartley, that truck does not exist in those records. But the red truck with the ill-fitting camper had been seen at the ball field that night. Not only had Ty and Jessica described it, but other witnesses had seen the vehicle, too. In fact, the red truck was parked next to Colleen's Nissan Stanza. Some witnesses said the truck was a Ford, but Jessica, who was interviewed in the Still Missing Morgan documentary, said she thought it looked more like a Chevrolet. According to her, the headlights and taillights were boxy, and so was the truck. She said her family had a Chevy and the red truck was similar in shape. Putting the pieces together. Hartley started pulling statements and information from other case files describing a red truck with a white camper shell. That truck had been reported several times before it was seen at Wofford Field. He pieced together the information and said, it painted a very interesting picture of June 9, 1995. The red truck. The first known interaction with the driver of the red truck came from a white teenage female walking on the side of the road. The vehicle pulled in front of her and the man inside asked her if she wanted a ride to downtown Alma. Scared, the girl said no and hurried away. Not long after, in the northern part of Alma, 2 girls, 5 and 6 years old, were playing in their front yard. They came running and screaming into the house and the mother saw a red truck with a white camper pulling away and driving off. The mother reported the incident to the Alma police. The next run-in with the driver of the red truck was reported by a couple of teenage boys. They were walking from the older ball field on the south side of West Main Street, said Hartley. A red truck with a white camper shell stopped next to them and the driver got onto them for being in the road. One of the boys said the truck then turned onto Walnut Street. Walnut Street is the road used to get to the upper parking area of Wofford Field. Some 10-year-old boys riding bikes and playing in the street were also told to get off the road by the driver of a red truck. According to Hartley, the red truck with the white camper in the photo circulated by the Alma Police Department was parked on the street during a game played between 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Then the red truck was seen in the upper parking area of Wofford Field. It disappeared, likely with Morgan inside, around 10:40 p.m. But the truck was seen once more that June night. In a location Detective Hartley will not reveal, he says a group of teenagers driving near the Arkansas River noticed a red truck with a white camper. One of the teenagers reported seeing a man holding down a little girl in the front seat. Hartley did say that the teenagers tried to show officers where they'd seen the suspicious vehicle, but by then the area was flooded. Hartley believes the information is solid. During the filming of the Hulu documentary Still Missing Morgan, Hartley, FBI Special Agent Ruben Gay, and the K-9 unit of the Texas Game Wardens searched the location where Hartley thinks Morgan was last seen more than 27 years ago. The scent dogs did not detect the presence of human remains. Attempted abduction in Van Buren, Arkansas. In Van Buren, Arkansas, 2 months after Morgan's abduction, an 11-year-old girl and her brothers walked to the local Sonic drive-in to get fries and drinks. After they made their purchases, they headed away from the restaurant. An older man in a truck pulled up next to the kids and gave the boys a couple of dollars to leave so he could talk to the girl alone. The brothers wouldn't leave their sister, but that didn't stop the man from having what Detective Hartley called an indecent conversation with the girl. After talking about sexual acts that included sex toys, he offered the girl money to go home with him. Terrified, she told him no and said she was calling the police. The children ran back to Sonic. The man took off and crashed into a light pole. But he didn't stick around. He drove away. However, a witness across the street had noticed the man's interaction with the kids and wrote down the license plate number. Van Buren police officer Kevin Johnson, who retired from law enforcement in 1999, and his team tracked the license plate number to a red truck owned by Billy Jack Links. A preponderance of evidence at Links' house, along with damage to the front of his red truck, convinced them that he was the man who tried to abduct the girl. They arrested him for the sexual solicitation of a child. Billy Jack Links. In 1992, Billy Jack Links was accused of molesting one of his granddaughters. He was arrested and charged, but was given a 10-year suspended imposition of sentence, SIS, otherwise known as probation. Investigators believe there were other multiple victims of Links that, according to Hartley, were never picked up on. Since he was on a 10-year probation, Links was free to find other girls to victimize. Investigators in 1995 discovered that Links had poured a concrete slab on his property 3 days after Morgan Nick's disappearance. But before they pursued digging up that area, Links passed a polygraph about Morgan's kidnapping. Investigators backed off. But now, 2.5 decades later, Detective Hartley and the FBI returned to Links' property and dug up that 10-inch concrete slab and 3 feet of dirt underneath it. They hit rock. And there was nothing in that 8x8 area except dirt, tree roots, and disappointment. Lost and found. Since Links' attempt to abduct a young girl was only 8 weeks after Morgan disappeared and both cases had detailed witness reports of a suspicious red truck, the FBI and Arkansas State Police joined the team investigating Links. Van Buren was about a 10-minute drive to Alma. And there was one curious witness statement in the Van Buren case. Up until a couple of months before, Links' truck had a camper shell. Links' truck was processed at his house on September 1, 1995, and it was brought in for a second, more detailed processing on September 5, 1995. Several evidentiary items were collected by crime scene investigators, including a cutout of the truck seat where a drop of human blood was located. More than 2 decades after the red truck was processed, the evidence collected in 1995 cannot be located. The only thing that remains is the documentation. Links' truck was impounded and remained in police custody for decades. Then it was sold at auction. Investigators tracked the VIN of Links' truck to the new owner, who lived about 30 miles away from Alma, Arkansas. The truck was intact. FBI special agents went to pick it up. But first, the Evidence Response Team, ERT, gathered evidence on site. FBI Special Agent Reuben Gay noticed markings on the truck that indicated a camper shell had probably been attached. The truck was also a Chevrolet with a boxy body and square lights, just like Jessica had described. Morgan Nick suspects. The FBI ERT took the truck apart piece by piece and examined every centimeter looking for evidence connecting the Chevy truck to Morgan. Among all the trace evidence recovered was a spot of blood, a single blonde hair, and fibers. The evidence was sent to Quantico for analysis. No DNA could be retrieved from the blood or the hair. At a microscopic level, the hair couldn't be conclusively linked to Morgan. That left the fibers. In the Still Missing Morgan documentary, FBI Special Agent Robert Allen said, "When we send all these parts off, we're sending as much stuff as we can, including knowns. One of the items we sent as a known is a Girl Scout shirt that is supposed to be the same age, type of shirt, make, model, run as the shirt Morgan Nick was wearing when she disappeared." A break in the case? Fibers were recovered from the driver's side seat, mat, carpet, metal pieces in the carpet, padding, and bracket. The results from Quantico revealed that the blue-green cotton fibers exhibit the same microscopic and optical properties as the known sample, the Girl Scout t-shirt. The lab report also concluded that due to the variability in manufacturing, dyeing, and consumer use, one would not expect to encounter a fiber selected at random to be consistent with a particular item. What does that mean? According to the FBI, it means that it is highly unlikely that those fibers would match any random material. It's as close as law enforcement will get to officially saying that the fibers found in Link's truck came from the same type of shirt Morgan was wearing the last night she was seen alive. And it means that law enforcement can narrow their focus to one suspect, Billy Jack Links. The perpetrator is deceased. In Still Missing Morgan, Colleen Nick said, "I think the part that bothers me the most is that the perpetrator is deceased. At the end of the day that means that there is no justice. No one has to stand and face us for what they did." Billy Jack Links was convicted of sexual solicitation of a child in 1995 and sentenced to 6 years in prison. He died on Saturday, August 5, 2000, while still serving his time. Fighting for Morgan. Law enforcement has not closed the book on Morgan's case. The FBI is committed to getting definitive proof that Billy Jack Links abducted Morgan Nick. Detective Hartley hasn't given up on Morgan, either. He continues to search the area he calls Location Number 7, looking for the little girl in wooded, swampy land and in the rushing, cold water of the Arkansas River. Morgan is not a number. She is not a statistic. She is not a case file, Colleen said in an NBC News article. "It is my job to make sure she never gets lost. Until someone can prove to me that Morgan is not coming home, then I am going to fight for her." What we know about the disappearance of Morgan Nick. Morgan Nick disappeared while playing near a Little League game in June 1995. Her case is the subject of a new Hulu documentary series that focuses on the investigation. What happened to Morgan Nick? On June 9, 1995, 6-year-old Morgan Nick played with her friends at a ballfield in Alma, Arkansas during a Little League baseball game. Her mother, Colleen Nick, turned around briefly. When she went to check on Morgan again, she was gone. Law enforcement searched the area but found no sign of the girl. Not giving up hope. I remember standing outside the fire station on the 4th day and somebody saying to me, "It's only been 4 days," thinking that was helpful, Colleen Nick said in 2008, 13 years after she last saw her daughter. She has never given up hope of finding her daughter. Police have tracked down leads, collected tips, searched properties and released age-progressed photos of Morgan. "I've always said that until someone can prove to me Morgan is not coming home, I believe she will," Colleen has said. Clues: the red pickup truck, description of man. Law enforcement has periodically released and re-released a photo of a red pickup truck with a camper. It was parked near the Alma ballfield at about the same time Morgan disappeared. Alma Police Chief Jeff Pointer told 40/29 News that after Nick went missing, Officers received reports of suspicious activity involving the driver of that truck and children in an Alma neighborhood. Children, and when I say children, it could be teenagers, it could be younger children who were approached by a man in a red truck with a white camper. We believe someone knows who was at the ballpark that night and who was driving a red truck with a white camper, Pointer said. Investigating Billy Jack links. In November 2021, FBI agents publicly named a man named Billy Jack Links as a person of interest in the case and asked for the public's help gathering information about him. Links was convicted of sexual indecency after attempting to abduct a child 2 months after Morgan Nick's disappearance. According to initial police reports obtained by 4029 News, on August 29, 1995, an 11-year-old girl told police she was walking with her younger brothers near the Sonic restaurant in downtown Van Buren when a man pulled up to them in a red pickup truck. Van Buren is about 10 minutes down the interstate from Alma, where Morgan Nick was taken. The girl told officers the man offered her money, made sexual comments to her and offered to pay her to get inside his truck and go with him to his house. The girl ran away and police were notified. A witness reported an Arkansas license tag to police that was traced to Links and an arrest warrant was issued the next day. Links pickup truck. Investigators from multiple law enforcement agencies searched a red 1986 Chevrolet Scottsdale pickup truck and collected evidence from inside it. According to crime lab reports, blood was identified on part of a seat inside the truck. Investigators also recovered hair samples from various items that were found. Lab technicians found the blood and the blonde hair did not have enough DNA information for a conclusive match. A new documentary revealed that law enforcement also found blue-green cotton fiber in the mat under the seats and in metal pieces of the truck. FBI technicians were able to match the fiber on a microscopic level to a Girl Scout shirt of the type Morgan wore when she disappeared. Court records from the Van Buren incident reveal that a neighbor who lived next to Links in 1995 told investigators back then that he thought there was a camper shell on Links' truck a few months ago. Who was Billy Jack Links? Agents are trying to learn as much as they can about the life of Billy Jack Links. Links was born and raised in Crawford County, Arkansas. He served in the Army during World War II and then worked at Braniff Airlines in Dallas from 1962 to 1974. Links returned to Van Buren sometime in the late 1970s. He died in prison in 2000. Whether it was through school, work, church, or any social activity, we need information about Links and details about his entire life, the release states. Remember, every piece of information about Links' life is important, no detail is too small or insignificant, it says. Where is Morgan Nick? June 1, 2018. On the day 6-year-old Morgan Nick disappeared, June 9, 1995, the fireflies had just started to pop and blaze, filling the twilight sky with twinkling lights. Morgan left her seat next to her mother on the bleachers of the Little League field in Alma, Arkansas to catch fireflies with her friends as the baseball game wrapped up. The kids greeted the summer evening supported by some of the pillars of childhood, baseball and catching fireflies. They ran back and forth between the parking lot and the bleachers as the evening faded to night and the action on the baseball diamond concluded. As the players filed off the field at the conclusion of the game, Colleen glanced back to check on Morgan and the other children, but Morgan wasn't with them. Colleen immediately went to investigate. I asked them where Morgan was and they said that she was taking sand out of her shoes, sitting by my car, but I could see my car and I didn't see her, Colleen recalls. She checked inside her car but Morgan wasn't there. That's when the real panic set in, Colleen said. It's a really small field and a really small parking area, and it was just easy to see that she wasn't right there anywhere. And by now people are leaving and cars are leaving, and I remember standing in front of my car and I'm thinking, if everyone would just stand still for just a minute, that I would be able to see her, that we were just passing each other somehow. One of the coaches called 911, and within 6 minutes law enforcement was at the field and began what has turned into a 20-year search for Morgan. What Colleen experienced over the next 4 days was nothing short of chaos and panic as the official search for Morgan ensued with help from a number of different law enforcement agencies. Many of the resources that exist today to help in the search for missing children were not available to Colleen at that time. She was asked to produce her own missing child poster, to field non-stop media inquiries, and to keep functioning despite the constant fear. 4 days into the search for Morgan, Colleen met with the mother of an 18-year-old girl who disappeared from a neighboring community but was found murdered just 6 months before Morgan was abducted. I had this deep need to talk to her mom, Colleen said. It was about knowing that the mom had survived this terrible thing. She just looked me in the eye and she said, "You can't give up hope." And it was the most powerful thing anybody has ever said to me. That moment sparked the fight that Colleen brings to the search for Morgan every single day. 25 years. A guest blog by Colleen Nick, the mother of Morgan Nick. June 9, 2020. On June 9, 1995, evil ripped Morgan from our lives. Morgan was violently taken from our family by a predator and our entire world collapsed. The word kidnapped carries such desperation and terror for us. This is not a movie or a book or some type of entertainment that holds others on the edge of their seats. This is our story, our family, fighting on the very edges of our lives to right what is so terribly wrong. 25 years of fighting. A lifetime ago, and just yesterday. Not one day, not 1 hour has gone by when we haven't thought about Morgan and missed her in our lives. We want to say all the things about how desperately we love and miss Morgan, and how we cannot possibly stand the thought that it has been 25 years since we have seen her, held her, smelled her hair, kissed her goodnight. Our hearts are as raw and ragged as the day she was taken. The weeks and months and years keep adding up. Her siblings grew up. Her friends grew up. Her dad and I have gray in our hair. Her kitten, Emily, waited 19 years for Morgan to come home. She is buried in our flower bed wrapped in a t-shirt with Morgan's picture on it. Morgan's grandparents carry sadness in their eyes. Her cousins know about her through stories told to them by their parents. Her nieces and nephew don't yet understand who she was or what happened to her. We dread the day they are old enough to understand, the day they realize what fear looks like. Every single holiday carries a deep pain when our family gathers, because the gathering magnifies her absence. New age progressions are put together to help us find her, but instead we have watched her grow up on paper. I cannot reconcile in my heart her sweet little 6-year-old self with this image of a strong, beautiful, 31-year-old woman with fine lines around her eyes. This image looks like she should be someone's wife and mama. These are things she will never get to do. Babies she will never get to hold. Cousins to her siblings' sweet children. Nothing is ever the same. Nothing is ever okay. The brokenness is always here. We bandage it and process it and get up every day and face it so that we can search for Morgan. So that we can ensure her siblings and our family can find joy. So that the evil that stole her from us cannot take anything else. So that we can have justice for our precious girl. We are still standing right here. Fighting. Me. Her daddy. Her brother and sister. Her grandparents. Her extended family. Her friends. Her law enforcement team. Our community. Still fighting? We fight because she is a daughter and a granddaughter, a sister and a friend. Morgan is worth fighting for. We will not give up. Morgan deserves to be found, to come home to all of us who are aching for her. Morgan, we love you forever and always. Morgan's story. On the day 6-year-old Morgan Nick disappeared, June 9, 1995, the fireflies had just started to pop and blaze, filling the twilight sky with twinkling lights. Morgan left her seat next to her mother on the bleachers of the Little League field in Alma, Arkansas to catch fireflies with her friends as the baseball game wrapped up. With the kids greeted the summer evening supported by some of the pillars of childhood, baseball and catching fireflies. They ran back and forth between the parking lot and the bleachers as the evening faded to night and the action on the baseball diamond concluded. As the players filed off the field at the conclusion of the game, Colleen glanced back to check on Morgan and the other children. But Morgan wasn't with them. Colleen immediately went to investigate. I asked them where Morgan was and they said that she was taking sand out of her shoes, sitting by my car, but I could see my car and I didn't see her, Colleen recalls. She checked inside her car, but Morgan wasn't there. That's when the real panic set in, Colleen said. It's a really small field and a really small parking area and it was just easy to see that she wasn't right there anywhere. And by now people are leaving and cars are leaving, and I remember standing in front of my car and I'm thinking, if everyone would just stand still for just a minute that I would be able to see her, that we were just passing each other somehow. One of the coaches called 911 and within 6 minutes law enforcement was at the field and began what has turned into a 20-year search for Morgan. What Colleen experienced over the next 4 days was nothing short of chaos and panic as the official search for Morgan ensued with help from a number of different law enforcement agencies. Many of the resources that exist today to help in the search for missing children were not available to Colleen at that time. She was asked to produce her own missing child poster, to field non-stop media inquiries and to keep functioning despite the constant fear. 4 days into the search for Morgan, Colleen met with the mother of an 18-year-old girl who disappeared from a neighboring community but was found murdered just 6 months before Morgan was abducted. I had this deep need to talk to her mom, Colleen said. It was about knowing that the mom had survived this terrible thing. She just looked me in the eye and she said, "You can't give up hope." And it was the most powerful thing anybody has ever said to me. That moment sparked the fight that Colleen brings to the search for Morgan every single day. Colleen's fight to find Morgan also includes her advocacy work through the Morgan Nick Foundation, as a volunteer with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and in annual events created to bring awareness to Morgan's case. Colleen created the foundation to educate children, families, and law enforcement and to prevent the abduction of children. The foundation offers safety courses for schools using GMEX prevention materials. You know, fear-based safety doesn't work for kids, Colleen said. A lot of times parents think that works, but when you empower kids and you give them the tools they need to stay safe, we see kids reacting in ways where they are safer. I never tell people my story, because my story scares people, Colleen said. They don't want to be my story. They don't want to entertain the possibility that their child might not be found, when in fact, most children are found, and are safely recovered and brought home. So, I say to a family that I'm on the phone with, we have a lot of different kinds of volunteers and a lot of different cases. And everybody is different, so let's talk about your child. And I make it about them and their child because this phone call is not about me, it's not about my child. One of Colleen's greatest struggles is seeing Morgan's new age progression every few years. Age progressions are a resource for families of long-term missing children. The idea is to help the public imagine what the child looks like now, not what the child looked like when he or she went missing. The process involves a GMEC forensic artist using photos of the child's parents and relatives when they were the age the child would be now and merging their physical features to create a likeness of what the child might look like. Photographs remain the single most powerful tool for finding missing children. Each year on the day of Morgan's disappearance, the family releases pink balloons, her favorite color, as a reminder that they have not given up hope. On social media, they ask people to take some time catching fireflies with their children and to talk to them about safety. You know, kids grow up, people go to college, lives change, but for our family, we're still stuck in that moment of not having Morgan here, of having an empty seat at our dinner table every night, Colleen said. I still get up every day with that goal is to do everything that I can do today to find Morgan and to bring her home. Law enforcement contacts. If you have any information about Morgan Nick's disappearance or have any information about Billy Jack Links, please contact Alma Police Department at 479-632-3333, Federal Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-225-5324, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678.